better help, more like no help. I crack myself up. Basically, in this video, I'm going to be explaining the reasons why I will be shitting on BetterHelp for now and forever, because I did not get the support that I needed. I actually got the opposite. I came in to solve my traumas and I left with extra trauma. So bitch, let's get into it. Quick disclaimer before I continue though. I don't mean for this video to be shady. There's no tea, no shade on my therapist. We'll get into that later. Your experience can and will be different from mine. I don't want BetterHelp coming after me trying to say like I'm trying to make y'all look bad, trying to sue me. You're not going to get anything from me. You can tip my piggy bank upside down. You'll probably get like $5, so don't even try it. And these stories that I'm going to tell, these are stories coming from my reality, from my point of view. You know what I mean? Let's start off with like how I even got into BetterHelp. I tried it 2 times. The first time, I got a really nice therapist. She was really sweet. I felt like she was a good match for me. She respected my boundaries. She gave me good advice, and she supported me the way that I really needed her to. As I grew to know myself, I learned that, I want to tackle certain situations that did not cover the topics that she covered. If you know, you know. If you don't know, I'll explain to you. When you start like BetterHelp, they give you like a little questionnaire on topics that you want to talk about. Like if you want to talk about ADHD, they'll give you somebody that handles that. If you want to talk about like eating disorders, they'll give you somebody that talks about that. And I probably should have put this also in the disclaimer, trigger warning, because we're going to be talking about sensitive things, so just prepare yourself. So yeah, my criteria changed. So that therapist was not going to work for me anymore. I might have ghosted her because I was too shy. It don't matter. She was really sweet. I liked her like a lot. I took a little break from therapy because I'm just like figuring things out, like what do I need. And later on, I decided that like I really need to be talking to a professional about this shit. I think before I really wanted somebody to vent to, and now the second time around, I really need to get some things off my chest because I was going through a lot. It was a lot of mental weight going on up here. And I was just like, I can't just keep venting to my boyfriend about this. Like, I mean, he says he's okay with it, but like I don't want to put that onto him. And then for 2, me venting to him is obviously not helping me feel better, so maybe I need to go give it to a professional, vent to the professional, you know what I mean? This was after I left college because I'm like, I need to take care of myself. Got into BetterHelp and I got hooked up with my new therapist, and let's call her Miss Tree. Okay? So Miss Tree, at first everything was chill until it fucking wasn't. And let's get into the first topic. This new therapist, Miss Tree, she was not really good with respecting my boundaries when it came to like religion, because like I had mentioned before, when you sign up for BetterHelp, you get to like customize the type of person that you want to talk to. One of the things that I had mentioned on my questionnaire is like, I don't want somebody that is religious. I would prefer somebody that was more like spiritual, but just definitely not somebody that's religious, because I'm the type of person, I'm not anti-religion for real. I just don't want to be expressing some type of trauma to you and you tell me to go read a Bible verse. I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I want somebody to like talk to me one-on-one on it. Like that's gonna make me feel like I'm not really talking to a human. You know what I mean? I feel like if you get it, you get it. If you don't, I don't know. That's how I'm gonna explain it. That's it. I'm also not a religious person, so I just feel like that just makes sense. Give me somebody spiritual, maybe I could connect with them a little bit more. That was just my preference. I expressed this to Miss Tree, and even though I expressed this to her, tell me why she was trying to convince me that that her giving me a Bible verse would be like really helpful, and maybe I should just give it a try and stuff like that. And I'm just like, yeah, but like I just don't want it. That's not what I want. She gives me a Bible verse anyway. Okay, that's more on a smaller scale of like not respecting my boundaries, but it's the principle. Okay, it didn't sit well with me because why couldn't you just respect the fact that I didn't want your religious based advice or whatever. I took the Bible verse, whatever. That was point number one. Let's move on to point number two. She was a recruiter for like the military. So, like I mentioned before, this was around the time that I had left college because of me wanting to focus on myself and my mental health because there was a lot going on. I'm like, I can't prioritize school at this moment. I need to focus on myself right now. So I mentioned this to her, and she's like, oh, have you considered going to the military? And I was like, yeah, honestly, I have, but I also heard stories of like women being SA'd in the military and not getting the justice that they deserve because it was from like their higher ups, and there's nobody to go to handle the situation, and that's something that I'm very afraid of. She's like, oh, okay, I get it, but my experience was so good and you get so many benefits, and after this amount of years you can get your own place. And she's just like really romanticizing the military. I feel like if it was me, after I mentioned the part where I say I'm scared to be SA'd, drop it. Don't try to convince me to go into your freaking cult, bro. I don't want to go there. But at this time, I was still more in my people pleaser bag. You feel me? So we're sitting here having a conversation about the military for like half my meeting, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. I did not think about it. I did not think about it because I said no, I don't want to. But not only that, but that wasn't the only time that we wasted session time on just bullshit, okay? Because one time we spent the entire 30 to 45 minutes talking about my boyfriend. Why? I do not fucking know. But she was asking me questions like, where is he from? What's his dreams and aspirations? Is he in college? What does he want to do for work? And at this time, he was already figuring out that he wants to do content creation and stuff like that. Tell me why Miss Tree is basically saying like content creation. Oh, what is his niche? What is his niche? I say his niche is he's an entertainer. He's a gamer. You know what I mean? He's gonna put his personality out there. And she's like, oh, that's a really saturated niche, and if he's not really entertaining, it's not really going to go that far, so maybe he should look into something else. Like, what are his interests? Maybe he can go into the military with you. And she's just talking up the military again. I'm like, girl, first off, we're not here to talk about my boyfriend. Does he pay for these fucking sessions? No, he does not pay for the sessions, unfortunately. But even if he did, we're here to talk about me. Why are we spending the whole session talking about my boyfriend, his dreams, aspirations? And then, what's wrong with becoming a content creator? I feel like it's better to try it and to fail and figure out that, okay, I don't have the capacity to keep trying this, or change your mind, I don't want to do this anymore, than to never try it and to regret that you never tried it. You, as somebody that's supposed to be mentoring me and guiding me, why the fuck would it ever come across your head to tell me that somebody's dreams and aspirations are invalid? You know what I mean? Like, I understand you're a little bit older. Maybe you just don't really see it happening. I can respect that. But even if it was me, if I didn't believe in something for somebody, I would be like, well, do you believe in it? Do you believe that can happen? Okay, put your time and energy into it and make it happen, period. You know, you're supposed to be a therapist telling me that, that like your aspirations and something that you're working towards basically isn't going to work. Not even entertaining the fact that you can build skills. Like when people do stand-up comedy, if your first 5 shows you're dog shit and nobody laughs at your fucking jokes, guess what? Learn how to be funny. It's a skill. Like, you know what I mean? Whatever. That was point number 3. Point number 4 is her sweeping off my concern for having a binge eating disorder. Girl, I was so fucking done. But not done enough because I stayed for another few weeks having meetings with this lady. This topic is something that I don't talk about with anybody. You feel me? I acknowledge the type of relationship that I have with food, the type of behaviors that I have with food, and I'm like, this is not okay. Let me talk to her about it. I bring it up to her, and she's like, oh, okay, so why do you feel like that? And I tell her the reasons why. I'm not going to go into details. Why? She just straight up tells me, oh, well, that's normal. You're just not eating the right types of foods. You need to eat more fruits and vegetables, but not the fruits that's too sweet. The fruits that's too sweet also isn't good for you. But you just not need to change your diet. That's why. I will never be talking to somebody about my eating habits ever the fuck again. That's not true, but that's how I was feeling at the time. Cause I'm like, bro, you're supposed to be the one person I can trust with this information. You just sweep it right the fuck under the rug. By the end of this video, you're gonna be like, that lady's house was dirty as fuck, because you would see she was sweeping a lot of shit under the rug and not putting it in a dustpan and throwing it the fuck away like she should. We just gonna leave it at that. Don't piss me off. I'm more shy to talk about this, especially since like I don't understand it really in myself. So just for her to kind of like brush it off that way, I just felt very invalidated and just not seen. That's not what I needed. I didn't number them. They're just hearts. So I think this is number 5. Basically the same thing with this next one. I told this lady one day that I suspect that I have autism and or ADHD. Okay, I'm very confident. I have took so many tests. I have made so many notes on like my behaviors and thought patterns and blah 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 blah. Like I studied myself. Okay, and I'm like, A plus B equals C. Okay, ADHD. That's what it's looking like. First, she asked me, why do I feel like I'm autistic? Why do I feel like I have ADHD? I give her my reasons why. And she's like, oh, okay, so based on what you tell me, that makes a lot of sense to me. I can't give you a diagnosis, but you can go to like places around you. I think she said clinics, but you can go to clinics around you and see if they do the testing and get tested and go through the process. But to be honest, it is a very long and tedious process, and honestly, if you do pass the test and it turns out that you are autistic or you do have ADHD, it's going to be very hard for you to find a job, and it's going to be very difficult to make a living in this world. That's what she tells me. Honestly, I feel like a lot of that is coming from her really wanting me to go to the military. Like I fucking swear they get commission from everybody that they recruit because it was that serious to her. Why are you fear mongering me away from getting a proper diagnosis? You know what I mean? Again, is giving weird energy. Are you really even a therapist? Which turns out she's not a therapist. I peeped that because she never called herself that. That's for one. That was my first hint. And she did mention that she was a social worker instead. And at the beginning, I kind of wish that I knew that so I could switch her out with a therapist. Pretty sure a lot of therapy work a social worker can also do, but bitch, I obviously didn't need a fucking social worker. I needed a therapist. What was that, number 5, number 6, whatever it is? Next point. Remember when I said we took a whole session to talk about my boyfriend? Right. So that day, we were actually supposed to talk about something very specific that I mentioned the previous session, and guess what it was? It was my experience with SA. Woo, yeah. And I gave her a warning beforehand, like a week before, because we had weekly meetings. A week before, I told her like, okay, next session I want to talk about this specific thing. It's been really heavy on my mind. It's been heavy on my body, and I really need to talk about it. You know what I mean? Is that okay with you? Is that something that you can handle? Because that would make me feel bad to just come into the session and drop that heaviness on her, even though like she's supposed to be that support. I still want to be, mindful that she's a person, and maybe on that day she just wanted a little heads up. She's like, yes, I can handle that. Let me jot that down in our schedule that day next week we're going to be talking about this. I'm like, okay, good. Imagine my dismay. The next week comes around, and our session is not about me. It's not about my SA. It's about my fucking boyfriend, bitch. And you might be wondering, like, why didn't I redirect her again? Like I said, I was in my people pleasing bag at the time. So I was just kind of sitting back and trying to trust that she had like a plan, like this was gonna veer into it. It just never did. I was just trusting her judgment, giving her the benefit of doubt, which slowly but surely I am learning to stop giving that to people. Okay, so after she ignored the scheduling to talk about that, when it came to the day that we actually was talking about it, tell me why she goes ahead and invalidates it. Girl, by saying stuff like, are you sure that happened? Shoot me right now. Shoot me right the fuck now. What the fuck do you mean? Am I sure that happened? She was like, oh, but you were really young when that happened. It was before I started school. I'm pretty sure I wasn't even in kindergarten yet. It's just I have pretty good memory. What the fuck? She's like, oh, you were really young when that happened. Like, are you sure that's what happened, or are you sure you were that young when it happened? I'm like, ma'am, yes, I'm sure. But the way that she was talking, it was kind of making me like second guess myself. I'm like, what if I'm tripping, But at the same time, I'm like 98% sure what I remember is correct. So she's like, is there somebody that like you can double check that with, like to verify my trauma with? I'm like, okay, fine. I'll ask my sister. I go and ask the person. They verify exactly what the fuck I said. Exactly what the fuck I said. One more time. Exactly what the fuck I said. That's ridiculous. As a therapist, as a therapist, as a social worker, why the fuck do I have to verify my trauma with somebody outside of the meeting for you to believe me and take me seriously? I did let her know that the person that I asked, they verified like, yes, your memory is correct. That's exactly what happened. That's how old you were. That's the circumstances that you was in, and blah 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 blah. Not only did she invalidate my experience, but she goes ahead and invalidates my aggressor, saying things like, "Oh, they were young too." And that's a normal experience. That's a typical experience in that type of situation. So tell me in the comments, would y'all email BetterHelp and get this lady fired? Because I just said, let me let it go. Let me let it go. I already have enough trauma from after talking to her for the past few weeks. I'm gonna just let it go. Before I end this video, let me touch on the last topic really quickly. Basically, her just not hearing. Right before college, one of my best friends broke up with me, basically. So sad, whatever. The way that situation had played out, I was very confused and upset for a long time. At this point, it's been like a year or two, I think. So it's a little bit died down, still unresolved. But definitely not one of my main problems at this point. That situation with my ex-friend was triggered a little bit because one of us reached out to each other recently around this time, and it just made me think. I was just like, I don't know, the whole situation is just so weird to me. I decided to bring that up to my therapist. But during the same session, I also brought up to her that around that time I was just not feeling really well mentally. I was feeling very heavy and overwhelmed, and I was just like basically expressing to her that I was how do I say this? I was having thoughts of like not being nice to myself. We'll put it like that. Again, they're not related. I don't know how many times I'm gonna have to say this because I am so shot from that lady just completely ignoring me saying that it's not related. I don't want y'all to think that it's related either. It was not related. That was maybe a little part of the overwhelm. I'm overwhelmed about a lot of other shit. I think that just because each of those topics was brought up during the same session, she made a connection. And I feel like she really thought she ate, because she's just like, oh, so you broke up with your friend and now you feel like your worth is gone because she doesn't choose you, and now you feel like you have to turn the knife on yourself, but really you're just angry and blah 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 blah. I'm like, I mean, like, what you're saying, it makes sense, but at the same time it doesn't, because I just told you it wasn't related. It's like what you learn in like calculus or whatever fucking subject, correlation without causation. That's the most perfect way I can explain it. And she kept pushing it. She was just like, Cora, you need to learn how to love yourself, because your worth should not be connected with anybody, not even your friend. I'm irritated just like thinking about this shit. I'm just like, I can't keep doing this. I give her the benefit of the doubt because every time that I get a feeling in my body and it's like immediately rejecting it, even if my reason for rejecting something is very valid and I'm damn the fuck right to reject it, I sit and think for a second. I'm like, okay, first, am I rejecting it because I know for real it is wrong, or am I rejecting it because it's true? So I entertained her idea a little bit. I was doing a lot of research on what self-love is and what it looks like and blah blah blah. I did a video on that. Go check it out. Everything that I learned from my research I put in that video, so please go check it out. Basically, I came to the conclusion that I can show myself more love and respect through the ways that I talk to myself, the way that I act, and let other people treat me. Even though she was dead ass wrong, it led me to start intentionally treating myself with love. It's like it kind of got the ball rolling, you know what I mean? I feel like that is very general advice you can give to anybody. Like, I feel like most of us can definitely treat ourselves a lot better. The best way that I can explain it is that she planted a seed for me, but she planted the seed in the wrong planter box. Like, if I had the onions over here and I had the tomatoes over here, and she done put a fucking avocado seed in the onions planter, I'm like, where the fuck did the avocado seed even come from? But I'm still watering it just to see what is it gonna grow. You know what I mean? But because I tended to it, now I got a fucking avocado tree. You fucked up my organization, but I got a tree out of it, and I love avocado, so I'm not gonna complain too much. That is all from me. I'm happy I got that shit off my chest, because that shit is so heavy. That's crazy that you will go into a space trying to heal yourself and you come out with even more trauma. You see how life works sometimes? It's okay. Yeah, thank you for showing up and sticking around for this whole video and listening to me. If you relate, let me know in the comments. Have a conversation with me. Like, come on now. Don't forget to check out the other video that I referenced. It's about self-love. Do you know if you have low self-esteem and how to build it? I want this to be a space for a nice, loving, kind community where we can share these deep stories, talk about the things that we don't talk about. We can relate to each other, we can support each other, and all that goodness. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for subbing. I'll be back later to talk to you. Bye.